Greetings everyone, this is Judge Lackman here. This video is a continuation of the commentary that I began in a previous video regarding what I refer to as a controversy related to Gaia TV involving the major personalities on that network and what may or may not be occurring there. And of course the leaked letter or email that was sent by David Wilcock regarding resigning from his position as a content creator for Gaia. I wanted to go into some more depth about some issues that tend to create a lot of confusion and misunderstanding. And this has to do with the labels or terms that we apply to things or to belief systems. Some of the people that I quoted in my previous video use terms such as Satanism or satanic or evil or Luciferian. So I want to go into a little more depth about the confusion that exists and how different people use different words and what they might mean or intend when they use those words. In history, we have different religious belief systems, religious movements, or spiritual movements, we could call them also. And we could use the example of Christianity, where there are many different sects or beliefs that could be labeled under that umbrella of Christian. So as long as the belief system has some connection or relationship to that character of Christ, people could call it a Christian belief, yet there might be a wide variety or divergence in the different views that get labeled as Christian. This applies to other major religions, while it also applies to esoteric beliefs, to mystery school or secret society type beliefs, to what people might label occult concepts or ideas. Luciferianism is a term that has been used to refer to beliefs that relate to a character of Lucifer. This idea of Lucifer is one that Christians tend to see as dark or evil, since in their belief system, the character of Lucifer is seen as a dark entity, what they see as a fallen angel, a being that strayed from God and fostered evil in the world. So that's kind of a consensus of how those in the Christian religion would tend to look at the idea of a Luciferian belief. They might think it's something evil. However, for those that see themselves as followers of some sect or belief system that looks up to Lucifer, from their point of view, Lucifer is a bringer of light or knowledge. And so for them, they're seeking enlightenment or greater spiritual knowledge or understanding. Many of them see the conventional religious concept of God as a deity who's very restrictive or punitive, as a deity who's somehow sought to keep human beings ignorant or to just give them a basic moral code and the threat of punishment or the promise of reward if they follow those particular rules or that code. So for people that are more metaphysically oriented, that are seeking spiritual knowledge rather than just seeking to obey laws or rules that they believe a God has given, they could look up to this idea of Lucifer as a being who rebelled against the constrictive religious ideas, who sought to teach humanity more spiritual knowledge, more understanding of metaphysics, ideas about how reality is created or influenced. In a sense, ideas that could be more empowering. And so from that perspective, the Luciferian teachings are not something evil. They see it as something that's empowering or elevating the consciousness of humanity. Now, some of those who are aligned with or oriented toward those types of teaching or beliefs may tend to go in a light direction with it, and others may go in a dark direction. In other words, some may be very humanitarian and service to others oriented, and some may use it for more egotistical, more self-centered or self-absorbed types of desires or intentions. In metaphysics and the occult, there's the idea of using magic, or what some people call the craft or witchcraft, for either dark or light purposes. So people refer to magic as being black magic or white magic. White magic being that which is supposedly intended for a positive or benevolent purpose, and black magic is magic that's intended to manipulate to accomplish some intention that could be harmful to others. Therefore, we can recognize the people that are into these spiritual ideas, into occultism, into what might be labeled Luciferianism, or even what some people might call Satanism or witchcraft, things of that nature. They're not always using it for something that's negative. Some of them, at least from their perspective, are applying these ideas and teachings for what they see as something positive, something that would better their own life, or that could better the lives of others or empower people. So just because people are into practices that fall under those labels or terminology doesn't necessarily mean that they're engaged in the activities that many people may associate with those labels. So not everyone who could be identified, per se, as a Satanist would be doing things to harm other people. They're not out there drinking blood, raping people, murdering people. That might be one expression of how that belief system might be applied, but it's not how everyone who's categorized under that particular label is applying those spiritual concepts. This brings us back to the discussion of the management at Gaia TV and spiritual teachers that they've been associated with. If particular individuals are channeling what they consider to be the being Lucifer, it doesn't mean that those individuals doing that channeling are out there doing harmful, destructive things, out there hurting people or anything of that nature. It just means that they're channeling a being who identifies itself with that name or label. Who or what that being or consciousness actually is something that we can't really prove one way or another. We can only observe the information that is shared and evaluate that information on its merits. Thus, we do want to be cautious in making sweeping statements or generalizations about things. In regards to David Wilcock, he is at this point rather conscious of how he is being perceived by people who are viewing his shows, who are following his teachings and the work that he's sharing with the public. And he doesn't want to be associated with something that's promoting a service to self type orientation, something that's promoting any type of dark or negative type of spiritual intention. So when he hears about people involved in Luciferian philosophies or teachings, he's concerned about being associated with that. However, a lot of spiritual teachings of what people consider the New Age or New Thought tend to overlap with ideas that are shared or promoted by those who identify as looking up to Lucifer or to Luciferian teachings. Gnosticism is one example of this. The Gnostic tradition also doesn't have just one specific code of beliefs. There's a range of different ideas that have been labeled as Gnostic. The general idea of Gnosticism is seeking knowledge within. However, those who are connected to those types of Gnostic teachings often look at the idea of the physical realm being governed by some negative god or entity that has in some sense entrapped or imprisoned consciousness in this realm. So from their point of view, whatever god being that people in mainstream religion may look to or worship, they perhaps see that as a negative or evil god. So that's where some of these confusion or misunderstanding issues arise. They're looking for some form of spiritual liberation, and to them, a being that shares higher knowledge or understanding is perhaps helping in that regard. From my personal point of view, we tend to get caught in a variety of dualistic belief systems, whether it's the mainstream religious ones or the occult or metaphysically oriented ones. We see some type of character, such as Jesus or Lucifer or Satan, and we look at that in an archetypal sense as a personification of whatever we may view as good or evil, as seeking harmony or union with the Creator, or seeking separation or distance from the Creator. And then to confuse or complicate things even further, those personified characters tend to be related to some type of historical figure, either a human or extraterrestrial being who may have played some role in our planetary or galactic history. And when people seek to in some way idolize or worship those particular characters, they can be in some way misled by beings who present themselves as those characters. So if a person is channeling someone or something that identifies as whatever character, whether it's Jesus or Buddha or Mary or Lucifer or Yahweh or Jehovah, Archangel Michael, whatever identity a particular being may present as, there's really no way to prove that you've actually connected with a specific spiritual being or a specific historical character. You're just receiving information or flashes of messages from a consciousness, and you're being shown some name or image to relate to that consciousness, but there isn't really an objective reality that you can prove to show that you have indeed contacted some particular being, some particular aspect of consciousness. Therefore, people can have endless debates about these topics, about what being or what information is valid, is giving some genuine guidance, or is trying to in some way manipulate or mislead people. I encourage people to seek their own understanding of things, to find what resonates or is true from their own experience, from their own intuitive and logical capacity. It's helpful to use both aspects of our being, both our logical and intuitive side, to apply rational or critical thinking, as well as to be open to intuitive ways of receiving guidance or information. If we just rely on one at the expense of the other, we tend to limit ourselves, and also we tend to create certain vulnerabilities or blind spots for ourselves. If we're only applying half of our consciousness, it is easy to be misled or misdirected in one way or another. Coming back to the discussion of Gaia TV, I would say it's valuable to look at the specific actions that occur, at people's actual behaviors, not just the allegations or hearsay about what they may or may not be involved in, about what spiritual beliefs they may have, but their own actual words and actions. And in that regard, we can see that there has been an effort to kind of commercialize the New Age and disclosure movement media. So Gaia TV has kind of bought up the rights to a lot of those materials and brought them under its umbrella, under its control in that sense. It's up to each of us to consider ourselves, for ourselves, whether we think that's something that's positive or negative, something that's constructive or harmful. And our views might not all coincide with one another. Some of us see a positive potential to that, some may see a negative potential. And for those that are operating that corporation, they may see it from their perspective. They may see both commercial benefits from that, as well as in their minds the possibility of how it could benefit society as a whole by having them bring together all this information and to in some way market it to the public, to spread it in that way. It's hard for you or I to really know the actual thought or intention of a particular person involved with that company. And of course, each person is an individual with their own consciousness, their own collection of beliefs and intentions. So not everyone in management there may necessarily have the same ideas or intentions. I hope that this discussion, this commentary that I'm sharing, brings some insight or some clarity to how we're able to look at these topics. There's always more to learn and understand, and spirituality is a very complex or diverse topic. There are many different subjects that we could explore in this field. There's a wide range of belief systems. We're each having our own unique life experience, going on our own journey, following our own path to seek greater understanding and awareness. And of course, we're going to have many different, you could say, pitfalls on this journey. There are times where we come to some idea or belief about something that later on we will discard. We will recognize that we had some flaw in our thinking or understanding. So we want to recognize that other people we encounter are going through that as well, attaching to whatever beliefs they're attaching to, which they may change or discard at some point. Everyone is evolving. There's a saying, many of you may have heard this, that every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. And even if the concepts of saint and sinner are themselves somewhat flawed, it is true that we all are evolving and we all have changed from who we were in the past and will continue to change as we go through our life and our experiences in the future. So we can learn things by looking at the past, at people's past behavior and actions, but that's not something deterministic. We can't absolutely predict who they are now in the present or who they will be in the future based upon the past. So we want to create this opening, an allowance for people to evolve, to change, to refine themselves, to acknowledge their own misunderstandings, their own mistaken actions, and hopefully other people will have that attitude toward each of us. They'll be open and forgiving as we progress and move forward on our path. I appreciate each of you for taking your time to view this talk, this video, and I invite each of you to visit my YouTube channel and see other presentations I've done. You can also visit my website, which is www.phinsights.com. That's PHINSIGHTS.com. For now, I want to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.